Hey y'all, I'm going to be talking about new makeup releases today, even though I feel like it hasn't been as long since my last video about new makeup releases as it usually is for me. I wish I could say that I'm filming today because I am going to try to film this kind of video more often, but it's really just because there are actually a handful of new makeup releases that I quite want to talk about, and so I feel primed to do it, and so I'm doing it. I wish I could be one of those enterprising YouTubers who films this video every week. There have been periods during which I was like, I'm gonna do it once a week, or I'm gonna do it once every 2 weeks, and then I just have never managed to do it. I always kind of just do it when I feel like I'm overdue. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things, but I don't want to overspend and I don't want to have too much stuff. So I try to keep a balance in my life. And I also try to keep a balance on my channel because I don't want to promote overconsumption or overspending. So if balanced content like that sounds good to you, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I upload several times a week. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So as usual, this is in no particular order. I just pulled a bunch of tabs up on my computer and I'm going to go through them one by one and talk about them. I usually group the tabs together if I feel like there was a trend. And I do feel like there's a trend right now, but it's not something that I'm like extraordinarily perceptive for having spotted. It's just the trend of light lip products, like, balmy, creamy, semi-opaque lip products, like not glosses, not traditional glosses, not lipsticks. It's like this lip product that's being sold as a thing that's revolutionary because it's in between, but it's really just like tinted balms kind of. And they're in nudie colors that many of them have like a brown one or a little bit of milky brown in them, and I really, really love that. So I'm quite drawn to that. I think I have a lot of stuff to talk about today, and I think it's because there are a lot of releases that I would have kind of passed over if they didn't have a really good color range for me in the release. Like there are a lot of just balmy, creamy lip products with color ranges that have just been released that are really appealing to me. Because there are so many things, I'm going to try not to get like really carried away and wax philosophic about everything that I talk about, which is what I usually kind of keep an edited group so that I can talk at length, but I'm going to try to do a little more rapid fire today. The first one that I have here, however, isn't one of those lip products. I'll just ping them as we go through because I didn't group them all together. That is what I was trying to say. This is going to be one of those days, I feel. Strap in. This melt, it's this melt thingy, the Melt Digital Dust Duo Blushes. They've released these gorgeous products in pans that looks like honeycomb with a little bee on it, gleaming like the stars. I like want to buy them. I'm not going to buy them because I don't need them. I don't need powder blushes. I'm getting all tangled up. First, I want to say the thing that I want to say about this, which is that I think that they could have billed these as highlighters. This is the point of interest, okay? The point of interest in the abstract, the academic point of interest is that highlighters and blushes, highlighters and shiny blushes are basically the same thing, right? There's such a wide range of skin tones in the human race that a blush that is really, really shiny, that has a rich color, can be a highlighter on someone. And there are a lot of ranges of highlighters wherein many of the shades work as blushes on someone. And that's the case. That's where I'm like the lab sample because I'm so pale that a lot of my blushes are actually just highlighters for deep skin tones or highlighters that have a little bit of color to them. When I put on a highlighter like that, I don't need a blush because it has color and it has added color to my cheeks. So I'm interested these days in whether brands that are releasing a shimmery powder that has rich color, whether those brands are going to bill that thing as a blush or as a highlighter, because I feel like it's just a matter of what you call it. It's not actually they're not actually different things. So I looked at this and I was like, wow, these are really beautiful, richly pigmented, colorful highlighters. And then I saw that they were billing them as blushes. And I was like, interesting. It's just interesting, right? I like that they're calling them blushes because they are blushes to me. They would be blushes on me. But I think they're so brilliant. They're so highlighting that for a lot of people, these are going to be like a highlight blush combo or really just a highlighter that you could add on top of another blush. Now we get into the secondary and more personal point of interest, which is the fact that it's basically this release that triggered me to make this video, because I looked at it and I was like clutching my pearls and like sucking in my diaphragm, and I was just like, I want to buy those. This is old Hannah. This is the feeling that used to make old Hannah before my no-buy, before I rehabilitated from my impulsive spending on beautiful things. The feeling I'm having now is the feeling that used to make old Hannah just buy the thing without a second thought, without considering what she already had in her collection, without thinking about the actual practical application of the product for her and whether it would work well. It's just so exquisite. And it's so shiny, and it pings my bells because it's got texture, and it is this like very glowy blush. It's like I look at the pan and I see my cheek glowing and I also see my brush dipping into it, and I just feel this visceral draw. But I almost exclusively wear cream products on my cheeks these days, and I love the powder blushes and powder highlighters that I do have, and I feel a little bit regretful on a daily basis about the fact that they are just languishing in my drawer because I'm on such a cream blush kick. So it would be 100% unwise for me to spend, wow, I just saw the price, $39 on one of these just because of those feelings, when I know that those feelings will fade. But if I buy the thing, I'm out $40, and then the reality of the fact that it wouldn't actually work for me, really wouldn't integrate well with what I'm into right now and with my collection, that would remain. That would be the tale that was told. So this is just the quintessential thing that I want it with an impractical passion. I want it with a passion that I recognize as being separate from the feeling that I have when there's a thing that actually would be smart for me to buy, if that makes sense. I already talked for too long about the first thing. Moving on to the next thing. What's it going to be? Oh, the Urban Decay release. So this is actually a little bit of like a sad story I have to tell. First of all, cool, right? I love texture and I love murky jewel tones. And they've made an entire palette that's basically just textured, murky, jewel toned eyeshadows. I'm not sure what they are. People are saying that they aren't glitters, but they aren't eyeshadow. We don't know. We won't know what they are until this arrives to me. It is coming in PR, but it's going to my old address. So I actually just exchanged emails with my Urban Decay contact today, and I was like, is there anything we can do about this? It's going to my old address. And she was like, yeah. And we worked it out. But long story short, it seems like I might get it quite late. I will do a review of it, and then we'll all know what the deal is. I don't know if these other things in the collection will come along with it. It looks like they're coming out with an extremely elaborate highlighter in like a box that looks like crystals. You know, I'm not into it. Like, you look at that and you're like, cool. Like, it kind of has the draw of the melt ones. It just doesn't have that like glassy sort of baked looking shine that really made my heart go pitter patter for the melt ones. Looks like it might take up a lot of space, but cool. If it comes in the PR package, I'll be excited to review it and tell you what its deal is. And then what are these other things? Oh, lip glosses. Okay. But I don't know. I don't know if the rest of it is coming. I don't think, buy any of these things for myself, and I probably wouldn't even buy them for a review. The thing that's in this release that I could see myself buying at some point in the future is the green eyeliner, because I really, really love the Urban Decay eyeliners. I don't usually buy high-end eyeliner because eyeliner for me is like a short-term staple. I'm not one of these people who has a huge collection. I just have one of each color and a handful of colors that I use a lot. I think I have maybe 4 or 5, like a black, a brown, a burgundy, a richer red, and like a gold or something. I don't have a green right now like this, like a Mitch Rurky a Mitch Rurky green. I don't have a rich murky green with shimmer, and I do love a rich murky green with shimmer in an eyeliner. The Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On is the kind of thing that I would treat myself to it every once in a while because it's a short-term staple. It's the kind of thing I feel like I should be buying drugstore because I go through them and then have to repurchase them. But I could see myself treating myself to this green 24/7 glide on, slide on business at some point. So it will be fun if that comes in PR, because I rarely get a thing in PR that I literally would have bought myself or would buy myself. It just doesn't, the cards don't really fall. This is the second video in which I've talked about the cards falling, and it's just not how the saying goes. The chips don't really fall that way for me because I'm very picky about what I do buy. So if this comes in PR, it'll be one of those shining moments when I actually got something in PR that I would have felt like was worth my money at some point. But stay tuned about that. I have completely failed to give like the commentary I'm supposed to be giving in this video, and instead have just talked about the fact that this is going this is going in PR to my old apartment, and I might never actually get it, or if I do, it'll be like a long time in the future. My commentary on this is that I'm not a fan of twee packaging. This isn't exactly twee. It is like twee for Urban Decay in that it's got, what am I trying to say? I told you it was gonna be one of those videos. Crystals and geodes, that's not like a thing that I usually think of as cutesy, but the way in which they've made a collection that's based on that, that's like themed along those lines, does feel cutesy. I feel like they've done a cutesy job of making a crystals themed or a geodes themed palette and collection. And I'm not usually drawn to cutesy things, but because the theme itself isn't inherently cutesy, I actually do feel kind of an appreciation for the way that it's gone down with this collection. And I'll follow its future career in my life with great interest. Okay, I just pulled up this Trend Mood post about the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale, only to reminisce about that time that I anti-hauled everything that was for sale in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. Do you remember that? It was like a massive video. And I think that I also inserted a picture of every single thing. It was like, I think I like rapid fire anti-hauled like 120 things or something, because I just went through the entire thing. Maybe I should do that again. Every time there's been an Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale since then, I have not been quick enough on the uptake. I like didn't know that it was starting, and so I didn't manage to film the video in time. But let me know if you want me to anti-haul everything in the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty again. Kaleidos is releasing another collection. I'm just going to touch on it briefly. I have the one Kaleidos palette that a subscriber sent to me back when I was still receiving subscriber gifts in the mail. It's the Sci-Fi Green, and I love it so much. I'm really, really impressed by the formula. They did a really good job. It's rare for me to keep like a little teeny palette. It's not teeny, but it's like a 5-pan palette. I think if the formula were any weaker, and especially if it didn't have that amazing black in there, it's something that I might have given away. But it impressed me so much, and I enjoy using it so much. And I find myself popping the shadows are magnetic, so I find myself popping them out and using them in my palettes so frequently that I've kept that palette through several declutters. So I always kind of take an interest in what Kaleidos is doing, because I really think that they are doing an amazing job building a really good brand with really good formulas. It's just cool. I'm watching their future career with great interest. You know what I mean? So the thing about them though is that even though I find all of the palettes that they've released up until now, all of the collections, to be really beautiful, and those highlighters were the packaging was so beautiful, in terms of the colors or the style of makeup that the colors have implied as they've released everything, they've never released a collection where I'm like, oh, I really want that one thing, or that looks like it would really be right up my alley. This collection, however, is a little bit more, it's kind of like a vibrant pastel, like a strong pastel. They aren't really pastels. The mattes in both of these palettes are just, a little bit kind of grayish, a little bit grungy. That's the thing. It's like a little bit of like a bright pastel grunge feel. And I think that up until now, I didn't feel like Kaleidos had a grungy side. I felt like they were making these beautiful color stories, but I didn't think I would reach for them that often. These two, they're my favorite two that Kaleidos has ever made in terms of my aesthetic. And I just felt like that was worth mentioning. If they'd released another collection and it was quite beautiful, but I had felt the same way about it as I felt about all the other collections, I probably wouldn't even have mentioned it in this video. But I felt like it was worth mentioning. I feel like they have branched out into a certain aesthetic of makeup, a certain tone that they haven't really tapped yet. Same thing with Tower 28. Okay, so here we've come across the first of the group of things that I'm going to be intermittently mentioning that are the trend that I was talking about. So like the lip products that are like, it's not a gloss and it's also not, they're all called like Jelly Beam or like shiny, silky, smooth crayon rather than being like lip gloss, which is basically kind of what they are, or lip balm, you know? So they're all saying it's like, it's this other thing, it's this in-between thing. Tower 28 is doing that. It is doing what I said at the beginning of the video has made me feel like I wanted to talk about all of these balmy, glossy crayon things, which is that they have two beautiful brownie colors in here. I live. And similar to Kaleidos, Tower 28 is a brand that I've taken great interest in because I love the aesthetic and I really like the looks of the formulas. And so I'm impressed by the way that they've launched and I'm following their future career with great interest. But they've never had colors that I wanted. Every time I go to their website or their section on Sephora, I look at all the cheek balms and the lip jellies and stuff, and I'm always like, which one would I buy though? Because none of these colors really are calling to me. And in this new release, two colors are calling to me. Cashew, the rosy brown, and almond, the chocolate color. They look really beautiful. New shades of the Shine On Milky Lip Jelly is what they are. And yeah, they've expanded the shade range to include my aesthetic. That's what happened with Kaleidos. So it's giving me hope. I feel like the brands are like catching up with me and what I want. That's the egotistical way in which I'm going to frame what's happening right now. Brief touch on this beautiful release from Chantecaille, which of course I'm not going to buy because, you know, it's too expensive for me. But another situation in which they could have released a really similar collection and I could have had literally zero interest, but because of the browns that are in the lip products, I have a high level of interest. And I just want to be like, good work, Chantecaille, good work. All three of these lip colors look really beautiful to me. And almost always when a high-end brand like this releases like a little eyeshadow palette and 3 lip colors, almost always none of the colors interest me. They're always too primary, too pink, or too red, or too dark or something. And I feel like they did a really good job with this collection in terms of tone. NARS, why did I put this here when I was opening the tabs? It looks boring. I'm not going to buy it. I remember now. I had this thought when I looked at it. Where's the texture? Sure, the colors are beautiful. I think I could do a beautiful look with it. I still have a really, my NARS. My heart still has a soft spot in it for NARS. I used to just feel like NARS was like the beginning and the end of everything. Before I started watching YouTube, before I started my own channel, NARS was like my splurge brand. And that was just for me walking around Sephora trying to be like, which of these brands like really has the packaging that appeals to me and the sophistication and the colors. And NARS does have that, the packaging that appeals to me and the sophistication and the colors. It's just that as I've learned more about makeup, I have become less and less inclined to just like automatically buy a thing because it's from NARS, right? I feel like the colors look beautiful and maybe they just haven't done a good job with the product shots. Maybe the product shots are weak, but it looks like it would really disappoint someone who tends to do eye looks like the one I have on now. You know, it's like all shine, all shimmer. And this just looks like even the shimmers are pretty much matte. So no interest. I'm wearing this, I got this little sample. When I replaced my Pout concealer from Sephora, I got this little sample size of the Ilia Balmy Gloss. And I feel like it's making my lips look gross. I really love the look of lip colors that are lighter than my natural lips because I just feel like it makes my lips match my skin more. And there's something, I like that like washed out lip look, but it's so hard for me to find a lip color that has that quality that doesn't like gather in those weird kind of milky lines. And I fear that this one's going to do that, but we'll reapply it and soldier on, see how we're doing at the end of the video. I wanted to talk about this Menagerie Cosmetics Bare palette for the same reason as the NARS kind of. It's just like an easy pass for me because it's an all matte palette. And I think I would have passed over this one if I hadn't seen Angie in her Will I Buy It video or in her new makeup releases going on the wish list or nah video. She was talking about the fact that she doesn't wear matte blushes. And that's the same with me. I actually don't own a single matte blush. And I don't know. I think it's good to know. I hung on to a lot of matte blushes for a long time because I felt like that's what you do. You like have your matte blushes and you have your highlighters and you might have your shimmer blushes and I had a collection where I had like one of each or a handful of each kind of thing because I just felt like that's what you do. You just have all of these things. And so I was like buying matte blushes here and there when I felt like they were the right color for me. And then I was always decluttering them because I never ended up reaching for them. And now, as I was saying at the beginning of the video, my cheek collection is really very much made up of like highlighters in deeper shades that work as blushes on me. I'd use that kind of thing a lot, or just cream blushes that I mix with my cream highlighters. I wanted to bring it up in this video because I feel like knowing that it's an easy pass for me because I don't wear matte blushes and because I don't own matte blushes, it's just a good perspective to like put out there on YouTube to just be like, if there's a kind of thing, if there's a whole category of thing that you really would prefer it to have some shimmer or to have a brown tone or to whatever, like, then just don't buy that thing. It's okay. Like you have permission to just not have any highlighters. For example, if you don't wear highlighter or if you don't wear lipstick, just don't, no lipstick, no bullet lipsticks, no matte lipsticks, etc., etc. I think a lot of you guys know, especially you who watch me, a lot of you know that already and are on the same page as me, but I just kind of wish that there had been people saying that on YouTube 3 or 4 years ago when I was first getting into it and when I was kind of misled about like what kind of breadth of style of product I should have. Had to change the camera battery. I hope everything's okay. I was just saying that I want to just do my due diligence as a person who learned that lesson the hard way and is now in a position to tell you about it so that you can just learn it from me instead of having to learn it the hard way yourself. Okay, here's another example of the balmy, glossy lip crayon thing train that has beautiful colors, that has like browns, like two nudie browns or brownie nudes in here. It's from Elcie Cosmetics, the Chubby Sticks. Seashore, Starfish, Paradise, and Flamingo. So there's like it's almost exactly like that. Well, no, the other color range had a light pink and then a pinkier pink and then like the rosy brown and the brownie brown. This one has an orange and a corally pink and a rosy brown and a brownie brown. It's the rosy brown and the brownie brown that I'm interested in. I'm just very happy to see that. Good job, Elcie Cosmetics. I'll be interested in reviews of this product. I have one product from Elcie that I got as it was like a gift at BeautyCon last year. It was a highlighter. It performs really well. That's all I'm saying. My one experience with the one product from Elcie has shown me that they've got something going on over there. So yeah. All right, here we go. The big guns, the heavy hitter. The other thing besides the Melt Cosmetics that made me want to film this video now, and I've gotten a lot of tags on this one too, the Natasha Denona Multichrom liquid eyeshadows. Lots of tags, which it's interesting. When someone tags me, when a bunch of you tag me on Instagram and something, I always assume that it's because you think that I might want to buy it. I guess it's probably also because you just assume that I might want to know about it or hear me talk about it, because you guys know that there are a lot of things that I'm interested in or want to talk about, but that I'm not necessarily going to buy. Also, I'm a big Natasha Denona fan, so that's probably another reason why I got tagged. But I have had no interest in this product from the get-go. And I want to talk about it because I want to talk about why. I want to kind of like workshop maybe why. I'll tell you what I think. I don't think I'm a person who loves multichromes. Like Amy from Amy Loves Makeup, she loves multichromes. And she's very knowledgeable about multichromes. She has tried different formulas. She wears them a lot. She works with them in different ways. I don't have that same relationship with multichromes. I have, I think, 3 multichromes from maybe 4 from the Clionadh collection, and they sent those to me. They sent me a few of their shadows. I think they sent me maybe 9 or 10 of their shadows way back when that collection first launched, and I did choose them, but I was much more interested in the glitter formulas, the glitter shadows from Clionadh that I really, really love. They are calling them multichromes, but they're the glitter multichromes. They're not those intense multichrome, like rich, deep based multichromes that have like a super insane reflective color shift across the curve of like the swatch or across the curve of your eye. The glitter multichromes are just really intense and have a lot of colors in them. But because they have that texture, it's like the color sort of scatters everywhere rather than being that smooth pain of color shifting across. You know what I'm talking about? Like the kind of multichrome that this Natasha Denona product is, it matches with the jeweled multichrome formula from Cliona. I wore one on my eyes today so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about as I tell you about my feelings about multichromes. I am really attracted to them. I love swatching them. I love putting them on my eyes. The ones that I do have from Cliona, I love the way that they apply. Like they're really attractive to me texturally, and that's another thing that I love about them. But I don't use them as much as I use the other Cliona shadows, the glitter ones, because they are just finicky. Multichromes are really finicky. They look incredible when you first put them on, and then if you blend over them, you blend away the effect. So you really have to like pack it on as a final step or the first step and then just work around the edges. The way that a multichrome works is you kind of just like paint it on as a step and you don't mess with it. And I'm like a grubby, blendy layerer. I just like to get in there and like grub everything together and smudge and sooty it up, you know? And multichromes, they require more delicate handling than that. They require to be babied. The ones from Cliona, they do blend really well, don't get me wrong. It's just that everywhere you've blended them, they don't have quite that same insane shift. The other thing about them that means that they aren't as ideal for me is that when I do a really strong makeup look, I'm always doing it for filming these days, right? This is what I put on elaborate makeup for. When I'm not filming, I often do put on sort of milder, more everyday, you know, just more no makeup, more no makeup. But when I'm going to film, then I go in and I do these looks. But if I use a multichrome for that, the studio lights will completely wash it out. Like you probably can't really tell that what I have on my lids is a multichrome. Whereas I was chatting with Julia just at lunchtime, we were sitting across the table from each other and she was like, is that one of the Cliona multichromes? And she doesn't even like wear makeup. She just watches my channel, but she could tell sitting across from me. She was like, wow, like she could see it shifting colors. She could tell how magical it was. She knew that it was a multichrome. She even knew that it was a Cliona multichrome. But when I'm editing my videos where I'm wearing the multichromes, they just look like a beautiful shimmery kind of color on the lids. So it's just kind of like it's not the big guns. The multichromes in my collection are not really my big guns for makeup, even though they're incredibly special, even though they're knockout special. I mean, they really, really are. And these Natasha Denona ones, they look very special in all of the same ways. In fact, all of the swatches look like dupes. They look like they could have been made with a Cliona jeweled multichromes. But the eye swatches are so bad in the promo pictures. Like they painted on like a shape, and it looks like even the makeup artist who was, or maybe it was Natasha Denona, who was like doing the swatches on the eyes for the promo, couldn't really get a clean line. It looks like it's trying to be graphic, but because they're multichromes, they're too subtle to like really comfortably be graphic. It's like there's too much going on. They're too textured. They require a little bit more of a relaxed hand. And then so it's like trying to put a square peg into a round hole. I feel like painting on this really clean line graphic shape with something that inside of itself is so dynamic. It just doesn't, they don't appeal to me. The marketing, the swatches, and I know that in practice also it wouldn't be that great of a thing for me. So I just scrolled through the trend mood and I saw some eye swatches that I actually do like much better. So I'll put them up. I haven't seen this image before now where they're buffed out. This is the way that I would apply them, and I do think that this is really beautiful. But I can do this with my Cliona shadows, so I totally don't need these. But this is more what I'm talking about. I feel like this is the way to maximize a multi-chrome. Like this looks really good. But up until now, talking with you, all that I had seen was those ones where they tried to paint like a really graphic sort of leaf shape on the lid. And I was like, no, what are you doing? So luckily for me, because they're so expensive and because they would be dupes of a type of product that I already have, luckily for me, I've had no interest in this product the entire time. Brief mention of this Byredo announcement. I don't want to talk too much about it because we really don't even know what they're releasing yet. There haven't been any swatches, no packaging, nothing. But the announcement that Byredo is coming out with a makeup brand was accompanied by this unbelievable image, and I just want to have a moment for it. Moment of silence. I will be following their future career with great interest. Why did I want to talk about? I feel like when I picked these, what I was going to talk about, when I opened all the tabs, I feel like I was over enthusiastic. I was like, I'm gonna just have so much to say about all these things. And now I'm looking at it and I'm like, why did I pick the Colourpop Sunflower collection to talk about? Full disclosure, I picked the tabs yesterday. I like prepped the tabs for this video yesterday. So it's just been like less than 24 hours and already I'm like, I can't remember why I thought that this would make good content, me talking about this. But I think that the Colourpop one is just because I haven't ordered from Colourpop in a really long time. And I've gone to their website like 3 times in the past week and a half and just put like 2 things into my cart and been like, should I place an order? And then I was like, no. And that's it. And I think that was what I wanted to tell you. And that's why I decided to talk about this. But one of the things I keep putting in my cart is the sparkly lip gloss from this collection. It just really appeals to me. I think that the sort of faded sunflower vintagey packaging, I just feel like Touche Pussycat, they've done something with that. The all matte palette totally doesn't appeal to me. If I was interested in that from Colourpop and in this color scheme, I would get the Honey palette. Like I'm like, why would you get the all matte one when the Honey palette exists and it's got shimmers in it? One of these super shocks, the less yellow one, looks really pretty. It just looks really pretty. And I actually think that there's a chance that the reason that I keep going to the Colourpop website and being like, should I buy anything? No. It might be because something about this collection kind of like got in amongst me and made my little heart go pitter patter. But I don't think I'm going to buy that lip gloss or the Super Shock eyeshadow I keep putting in my cart or the milky pale green eyeliner that I also keep putting in my cart. I will likely never buy them. Oh, this is interesting. These 3 quads from Eunique Beauty. I really like the color stories and I want to articulate why. I think they have done a really good job here making 6-pan palettes. It is because with each of these 6-pan palettes, you can build a neutral look and you can build a number of different colorful looks. And I think that we haven't seen that in a long time in little palettes because everyone's so on the monochromatic train. So Colourpop keeps releasing these palettes where there are 9 shadows in there, but all you can make with them is different versions of the same color. All you can do with them is to make a bunch of different looks within the same color family. And I love monochromatic stuff and I love monochromatic makeup, so I understand the appeal. And I do understand the appeal if you are really interested in green, for example, of being able to buy a palette that has all different kinds of greens and it's kind of like your one and done for greens, so you don't have to like dip into that palette for like a darker green that was like the pop of green in that one, and then dip into another palette for the lighter green that happened to be the pop of green in that one. That's kind of how it used to be before Colourpop did this and then everyone started doing it. The little palettes from Fenty, the ones that Fenty released recently, are kind of like that too. Like there's a green one and there's like a yellow one and then there's a red one. They have some neutrals mixed in, but it's like there will be a couple of nods to neutrality and shadows that make you able to like do a neutral look if you really, really have to. But then all of the rest will be green. So it's like, do you want a lighter green look? Do you want a more yellowy green look? Do you want like a deeper green look? Do you want a rich, grubby green look? Do you want a sparkly green look? You have all of it, but you can't do a not green look except for maybe with the one neutral that's in there. I just think it's interesting to note that we've gone so far in that direction that these look really refreshing to me. They look like they're really like on the verge. They're on like the cutting edge of six-pan palette composition, because each one of them, I'm like, I could do 15 different looks that would be totally different from each other by combining these colors in all different ways and by leaving out certain colors. Every other shadow is a pop of something. And I just find them very dynamic and beautiful. Not gonna buy them because I'm not really buying eyeshadow right now, but they caught my eye. Okay, so Urban Decay is coming out with, we don't have much information on it, but it's like a hyaluronic acid tint, Stay Naked Hyrdomatic. Oh, maybe it has nothing to do with hyaluronic acid. It's just called Hyrdomatic. It's a tinted glow hydrator, medium coverage, up to 24 hours of wear. I'm mentioning this very briefly just to say that I hope the shade range is broad, because Urban Decay is one of the only foundation ranges, has some of the only foundation ranges that go light enough and neutral enough for me. So their lightest shade in the Stay Naked range is a match for me, like it actually is. And that's not true of most foundation shade ranges. Most of them don't have a color that matches for me. And it's even harder for me to find a match in like a medium coverage or light coverage or like a CC or BB or hydrating type of thing, because they always skimp on the shade ranges with that kind of thing, because the idea is like, yeah, like, you know, the shades are more flexible, so more people can wear one. But that's not true if your skin is lighter than the lightest one. That might cover more people in the other direction, like if it's sheer, you know what I mean? It's a little more flexible. But even something very, very sheer, if your neck is lighter than the product, you're always going to look like you have like a mask of something on your face. So that theory of a smaller shade range working, it only works in the middle. It doesn't work on the very, very fringes. So the very, very deepest and the very, very lightest, we're left out of that theory. So I know that Urban Decay is capable of coming out with a shade range that includes me. And it would be cool if they did that with this product, because it's the only kind of foundation, sort of like skin-based product that I'm interested in. It's like that really sort of like easy to wear BBCC medium glow hydrator type business. Oh my gosh, Sadie, we're almost done. You want to be in the video? Please don't scratch that. Thank you. Sadie knows what she's not allowed to scratch, but she always tries it. And then as soon as you ask her to stop, she stops. She's the perfect cat. Oh, Lauren Conrad. Nice job. Looks cool. I'm completely out of steam. I'm just going to really phone in these last two. Lauren Conrad Beauty, nice job, looks cool. I clicked through. I wasn't interested in any of the colors because she's not on the brown tinged nude train yet. So it looks solid, very beautiful. I like the aesthetic. I'll follow this future career with great interest. But my colors aren't here. Everything's like too peachy, too pink, or too berry toned for me, except for maybe the red lip, but I have too many red lips and I don't wear them enough. So yeah, if the shade range were a little bit more, just ever so slightly more edgy, I would potentially have been all over this, but it's not, so I'm not. No grages. Lauren Conrad is giving us no grages. But who's giving us grages? Fenty. And that's the last thing I wanted to say. I think that the Lauren Conrad, that there's maybe another of that like sheer dewy balm glowy glossy, but not a lip gloss, not a lipstick kind of thing in there. But this is another one that's squarely on that train, a real participant in that trend. The Fenty Pro Kissr lip balms, and there is a beautiful brown, and it's even called Cocoa Drizzle, sheer chocolate, cool toned nude. I am not about to buy this now, but this is a thing. This sheer Cocoa Drizzle, gray toned, cool toned, sheer chocolate business. This could have gone in my video about makeup that I might buy one day. I could see myself one day being like, I'm just gonna do it because I do love a glossy balmy thing. I mean, that's like what I'm wearing. That's what this Ilia sample size is. And I do like things like this. And I really have been drawn to them lately, along with everyone else, apparently. But if these are the colors, I want them in these Cocoa Drizzle business colors. So yeah, good job, Fenty. For me, totally nailed it. This is the one. I'm not going to buy it right now, but it's a good one to end on because I approve. And that is it. Oh my gosh. Did it feel like a marathon to you, or am I just like kind of out of practice and maybe dehydrated? But you know, it's over. I appreciate you being here. I hope that it was at least fun to watch. And I just sat here for like a full 90 seconds trying to think of what else I wanted to say, but there's nothing. We're done. It's over. And then Sadie came over to be in the outro, which is very, very sweet of her. Yeah, those are new makeup releases and all my feelings about them. That's it for Sadie. Brief cameo, cat hair everywhere. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.